Attila the Hun, the man Rome paid. Not to attack Rome, the empire that had conquered half the known world, paid this man an annual fortune simply to stay away. When they eventually stopped paying, he burned his way through their territory so thoroughly that Roman writers started calling him the Scourge of God and meant it as a literal description, not an insult. Attila rose to power around 434 AD, ruling the Hunnic Empire jointly with his brother Bleda, before eventually consolidating sole control, commanding a nomadic confederation of tribes originating from the Central Asian steppes, whose highly mobile, horse-based military tactics had already made them one of the most feared military forces along the eastern and northern frontiers of the declining Roman Empire, for decades before Attila himself assumed leadership. What made Attila's reign genuinely historically significant wasn't simply his military capability, considerable as that capability proved, but his specific, calculated approach to extracting wealth and political concessions from Rome, both the increasingly fragile Western Roman Empire and its considerably wealthier Eastern counterpart, through a combination of devastating military campaigns and, in periods between active conflict, formal diplomatic arrangements requiring Rome to pay substantial ongoing tribute specifically to prevent renewed hunnic invasion. A genuinely remarkable arrangement in which one of history's most powerful empires found itself effectively paying protection money to avoid attack from a nomadic confederation. Many Roman officials privately regarded as culturally inferior, even while formally treating with Attila as a legitimate, dangerous political and military power. Attila's campaigns against the Eastern Roman Empire throughout the 440s proved genuinely devastating, with Hunnic forces repeatedly defeating Eastern Roman armies and ravaging extensive territory throughout the Balkans, ultimately forcing the Eastern Empire into increasingly humiliating tribute arrangements. With the annual payment, Rome agreed to provide Attila specifically to avoid further invasion, reportedly increasing dramatically over successive negotiations, a genuine, documented illustration of exactly how effectively Attila had positioned himself to extract concessions from an empire that, on paper, possessed vastly superior overall resources and manpower compared to his own nomadic confederation. In 451 AD, Attila turned his attention towards the Western Roman Empire, launching a major invasion of Gaul, a campaign that produced one of the late Roman Empire's most historically significant military engagements, the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains, where a coalition force combining Western Roman troops under the general Flavius Aetius with several Germanic tribes who had previously been Rome's enemies, but now recognized Attila as a more immediate shared threat, met Attila's advancing forces in a battle that, while not resulting in a clear, decisive victory for either side, succeeded in halting Attila's advance into Gaul and forced his eventual withdrawal, representing one of the only significant military setbacks Attila experienced throughout his entire reign. Rather than retreating entirely, Attila redirected his forces the following year, in 452 AD, launching an invasion of Italy itself, sacking several major northern Italian cities and advancing toward Rome, with apparently genuine intent to attack the city directly, a prospect that generated genuine severe panic within Roman political and religious leadership, since the Western Empire's military capacity had been significantly weakened by the previous year's campaign and offered little realistic prospect of successfully defending the capital against a direct Hunnic assault. What happened next remains one of history's most genuinely debated diplomatic episodes, as Pope Leo I personally travelled to meet with Attila directly, and according to the most widely repeated historical account, successfully persuaded him to withdraw from Italy entirely without attacking Rome, a diplomatic outcome later Christian tradition would attribute to divine intervention and the Pope's own spiritual authority, though modern historians generally favour more practical secular explanations for Attila's actual decision, including the genuine, documented fact that his forces were experiencing severe supply shortages and disease outbreaks following their Italian campaign, along with reports that Eastern Roman forces were simultaneously launching their own attacks against Hunnic territory back in the east. creating genuine strategic pressure for Attila to withdraw and address this secondary threat regardless of whatever diplomatic exchange occurred with Leo directly. Attila died suddenly in 453 AD, just 1 year after his withdrawal from Italy, under circumstances that have remained genuinely disputed ever since, with the most commonly repeated historical account describing his death occurring on his wedding night to a new bride, reportedly from a severe nosebleed that, combined with his apparent heavy drinking during the wedding celebration, resulted in him choking to death in his sleep, an account some modern historians treat with genuine skepticism, given its almost theatrically ironic quality for a figure whose reputation had been built so thoroughly around military conquest, though no definitively proven alternative explanation, including occasional historical speculation regarding possible poisoning, has ever achieved broader scholarly consensus either. Following Attila's death, the vast Hunnic confederation he had built and personally held together through his own individual political and military authority collapsed with genuinely remarkable speed, as his sons proved unable to maintain unified control over the diverse collection of tribes their father had commanded, and within roughly 2 decades the Hunnic Empire had effectively disintegrated entirely, its constituent tribes scattering or being absorbed into other regional powers. A genuinely rapid collapse that illustrated exactly how thoroughly the entire Confederation's cohesion had depended on Attila's own individual leadership, rather than any deeper, more durable institutional structure capable of surviving his death. What makes Attila's reign endure as one of history's most significant examples of nomadic military and diplomatic power isn't simply the military campaigns themselves, genuinely devastating as they remained for the territories directly affected, but the specific, remarkable demonstration his career provided regarding exactly how effectively a comparatively smaller nomadic confederation could extract sustained, substantial concessions from history's most powerful settled empire, forcing Rome into a position of paying tribute specifically to avoid conflict, a dynamic that reveals genuinely significant insight into the Western Roman Empire's actual declining relative strength during this specific historical period, regardless of whatever formal diplomatic language both sides continued using to describe their relationship. If stories like this, where history's most powerful empire found itself paying a nomadic warlord simply to stay away, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.